And welcome back. I'm the Doc Bob Lee from BLS, and you're watching Open. It's that live interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. Stay connected to us through social media at BronxNet TV. Our first guest is a criminal justice program director and a professor of criminal justice, and she's with us today to speak about her career in the legal system and how she's trying to bring about criminal justice reform in what may potentially be a historically game-changing role. So please welcome to the show, Dr. Vanda Seward.
Thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Now, in the beginning, we were opening it up and we were talking about NYPD, but it's not a part of the NYPD. It's a part of corrections?
Yes, it's New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, which is the New York State prison system and parole system.
Yes. Now, how did you get involved? Was your career leading to that?
So I've been in the criminal justice arena for over 32 years. I'm also a I have a doctorate in criminology, but my career started 32 years ago. I've worked as the New York State Director for Division of Corrections and Community Supervision.
Yeah.
I was appointed by Governor David Patterson. Then I've also worked for the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office under Charles Hines in the Calm Alert program, which is the first prosecutor-ran program in the country. And I've also was in charge of the District Attorney's Office in the Bronx under Kenneth Thompson, the late Kenneth Thompson, running the County Reentry Task Force. I have been in the criminal justice arena, I want to say it feels like all my life. I don't know much other than criminal justice at this point because I eat, drink, sleep it. But I've been in the field for a very long time.
Yeah, and you, with David Patterson, he appointed you. Of course, his father was Basil Patterson, and he was a part of that group of 5, 7, Percy Sutton, David Dinkins, Charlie
exactly
Rangel,
right.
All those guys. Yeah.
That's right.
So you have some wonderful experience. So you've been in the game long enough and you could do the dance, and now you want to make some changes. Talk about some of those changes.
Exactly. So one thing I just want to add also that I've been in academia for close to 25 years, doing both things spontaneously, So I think the change for me that's going to come up, opposed from this being an historical moment, that first, the Grand Council Guardians are the individuals who asked me to please put my name in the hat because they wanted to endorse me. So
they know about you. They've heard about you. They've seen your work.
Exactly. So I think, even though I retired in 2017 from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, my work has spoke for itself, not only just in the law enforcement arena, but overall in the community for justice impacted people all across the state. And I think the changes that I want to make is about getting people to really understand that there's a common goal here that everybody's looking for in this state correction system. One, the main thing is public safety. What goes on inside the correction facility has no choice but to transition out into the community. So everybody has a vested interest in this.
Yes.
I think the other thing that I want to bring to the table and bring out to the forefront is correctional staff want the same thing, that families want the same thing that individuals who go into the prison system want for their loved ones, to come home when the day is done or come home when the time is served. The violence that's going on right now, we have to figure this out because there's no reason why people should wonder, are their loved ones going to come home rather after the end of the shift or after the end of the sentence? So one of the things that I need to do during my time for change is to go in to see where are the systemic issues? How do we go about addressing it? And one of the main things is to make people understand that we're all here for a common good, and that's about public safety. We need to make sure that victims understand that we understand their plight because they don't need to have a resurgence of trauma based upon people not considering their feelings. But there is studies out here that says that victims really don't want their people to go to prison forever. They really want people to be their needs to be addressed, rehabilitative services and process to be put in place. And then we can discuss if a person is really ready to re-enter the community.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we have to also understand understand or I have to bring to the forefront is let the taxpayers know where their tax dollars is going. One minute we're saying it costs this much to run a prison, but in the next breath we talk about public safety, and every time you turn on the news, you see somebody recidivating.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to the taxpayers either. Where is their money going? I think that we really need to sit down and look at the system and look at the systemic issues. I know that normally this position is not a position that the public even really gets to know that it's even open and available. Usually it's just one of the things I said, we've been doing the electric slide in the prison system for a long, everybody just slides to the next position.
Yeah.
And we have to stop. And I think many will say, why me? I think why me speaks for itself. If you look at my resume, I've worked nonprofit, I've worked government, I've worked law enforcement, I've worked prison, I worked the advocacy groups. And I really think I'm one of the few people who can move around in all these different circles with formerly incarcerated, justice impacted people, and don't look over my back, don't look over my shoulder, for the simple fact that everybody knows that I've always been fair, firm, and consistent no matter what arena I'm in. And I'm not the person who folds easily, So I think that makes me a good candidate, coupled with the fact that I have a lot of individuals across the state that trust me. They've watched how I function when I worked in these government capacities. And, it's so funny, I just share really quick. I've had people when I worked at the DA's office, even after I left parole, who was on the run, who would call me and say, I need to turn myself in. Can you please help orchestrate that?
Wow.
And I would orchestrate for the parole officers to meet at the district attorney's office in my office to do a smooth handover so the person felt safe. So that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah.
You're coming into a DA's office, speaking to somebody formerly statewide director of parole, and you're asking them to help orchestrate your turn-in because you want to make sure that it runs smooth. Yeah. So I think that because I've been on all sides of the fence, that there's a need.
You can take a look at this right here. You see that newspaper clipping there?
Yes.
That came in just before that?
Yes, that was during the time that I worked for Charles Hines, and one of the things that we used to do is I used to always put together a reentry conference to educate the people in the community and practitioners on how to deal with people coming home from prison. What does that mean? Invite families, politicians, social workers, and we would put funding or request funding in our grants.
Yeah. Is there anything in place to keep them from going back to prison? Because sometimes they're released and they go back to the same neighborhoods and they get back into the same trouble.
Well, unfortunately, it goes back to programming. If we begin to incorporate what we call cognitive behavior thinking, which is addressing people's cognitive needs, criminal thinking, also addressing people's criminogenic needs. One of the things we have to realize when we talk about individuals who've been incarcerated, sometimes many of them are going back to the same communities. They're going back to the same families, but we have to address their needs from a holistic perspective. We also have to start reentry from the time the person gets into the system. We can't wait till 30 days or a year or two before it's time for them to be released to put all the rehabilitative efforts. There are a lot of community-based organizations that are receiving funding, whether it's through OASIS, whether it's through the government or other
who can help out with that.
That can help out with that. There's enough programs out here that can do what needs to be done to help individuals. It's not a one-size-fits-all model. People do have to want the help. But I think if we start to help early enough in the process, it will at least encourage them to continue to help upon release.
Dr. Seward, you work mainly with the prisons in New York State. Does that also include Rikers Island in the city?
No, Rikers Island is a local jail.
But it has some of the same problems, maybe.
It mimics some of the same problems, but not at the magnitude.
Not at the magnitude.
Right, not at the magnitude. Local jails or detention centers usually have a little bit more mayhem than other places because people are in a level of unrest. They don't know where their fate lies, you know? So I think that's why you see what you see. But I think the other thing too is about bringing in proper staffing. One of the things that happens in the state is that there's not enough minorities. There's not enough diversity. There's not enough training to get individuals to understand how to deal with the population they're serving. And that's the same thing in Rikers.
Yeah, but some of the programs that you want to initiate can be used at in the city level also.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I sit at the table and people call me constantly for city correction stuff, state corrections. It's almost like, you have a question about jail, prison, you call Dr. Seward. People are always asking me questions and I'm always trying to give answers. But I think the thing here is that we all have to learn how to come to the table and have a conversation about this. It's not all corrections issues. It's not all the individuals incarcerated. It's a collective effort. But training is key.
Yeah.
Training is key, and not training just when you get into the academy. It's ongoing because there's so many nuances that go on with this population.
Yeah. How can we find out? Can we go somewhere and find out this information? Is it written somewhere on the website or your social media?
So right now I have my website. It's Dr. Vanda Seward .com, and on the website you'll learn all about me. And then I do have an Instagram page, same thing, Dr. Vanda Seward. I have started a petition on my website, and it'll pretty soon be on my Instagram, so that individuals can sign the petition in support of me being the next commissioner, because this is an appointed position.
Yes.
And this is about, I believe, the taxpayers and the people coming together to tell the senators, the state senators and the governor, we want change, and Dr. Seward is it.
And that title would be?
Dr. Vanda Seward for New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision Commissioner.
There you go. Dr. Vanda Seward, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And come back and share more. Your wealth of information.
No problem. I definitely will.
I know the information that you're going to put out there is going to be beneficial to everyone.
Yes, most definitely.
People moving together in the same direction for a common cause.
Exactly. Yes. And I'm the right person at the right time.
There you go.
Yes.
I will take a quick break. I've got more open coming up next.